Welcome back to Ubad's lab, and today we're going to be making copper 1,2 sulfite, also known as Chevreul salt. Alright, so we're going to be using this reaction right here to make our Chevreul salt. So we're going to react an aqueous solution of copper sulfate dissolved in some water with some sodium metabisulfite dissolved in some water as well, and then that will give us our Chevreul salt, which is Cu3H4OAS2. And what's interesting about Chevreul salt is that it actually has copper 1 and copper 2 ions in it, which makes it pretty unique as a copper salt. And what else? Another thing that makes it unique is its red color to it. It's pretty interesting how copper salts have such a crazy array of different colors. So far on this channel we've made copper sulfate, which was blue. We made copper chloride, which was more of a greenish, and we made copper tetrachlorocuprate, which was also kind of green. But this is gonna be red, which is gonna kind of like a brownish red, which is gonna be really cool to see and also add to my copper salt collection. So the concentration of our copper sulfate solution is going to be 7.25 grams of copper sulfate dissolved in 50 milliliters of water. And then for our sodium metabisulfate, it's going to be 6.14 grams of the sodium metabisulfate dissolved in not 50, 25. I made a mistake there. 25 milliliters of water. And yeah, let's get this reaction going. All right, I've got my reactants out here now. And so we have 75 milliliters of our water, since 50 will be to dissolve our copper sulfate on the right there, and our sodium metabisulfate on the left. So around 7.25 grams of the copper sulfate and around 7.14 grams of the sodium metabisulfate. And our water is pretty warm, and that's going to help us dissolve these mixtures easier. So I'm going to start by pouring 70 milliliters of our water 50 milliliters of our water into our copper sulfate. Just leaving 25 of the milliliters of water for our sodium metabisulfate. All right, perfect. And now we're gonna do some stirring and mixing to get both of these reactants dissolved into the mixtures. I think that's pretty good for now. And we'll use the other side of our glass stir rod to start mixing our sodium metabisulfate solution. There's one pretty big chunk in there that we can just crush up. There we go. Yeah, it's starting to get nice and crushed up now. And this is a reaction I've actually wanted to do for a while now, but I just never got my hands on sodium metabisulfate. And then For Modern Alchemist sent me that care package, and thankfully he actually added some sodium metabisulfate in there as well. And yeah, thanks to him, this video is being made today, and tons of more videos are going to be made because of that, of those chemicals that For Modern Alchemist sent. So, big thanks to him. All right, pretty good. check up on this. Copper sulfate's almost completely dissolved. And sodium metabisulfite's basically completely dissolved as well. Okay. Alright, I like the look of that. Let's start the reaction. Let's do it. First, I'm going to start by adding all of our... so I'm using a glass beaker for the reaction, and then both of these are plastic since they're just holding our reactants. So I'm going to add it to our reactant beaker now. All of our copper sulfate. A nice, beautiful blue solution. And let's see. I think there's some copper sulfate that didn't make it. Okay, there we go. And now we are going to slowly add our sodium metabisulfite, and we should see a color change to green, showing a formation of copper 2 ions. Yup, we're seeing a color change to a green. Wow, look at that. That is amazing. And let's give this a mix. Oh, and we have this beautiful teal kind of color. Wow. Okay, so we got a nice reaction there. And we still have some work to do before we get our final product of Chevreul salt, which is a brownish red. Oh, and look at the end of my glass stir rod. There's kind of like a yellow, color on it. That's weird. Okay. So what we're gonna do now. Oops. So what we're gonna do now is get my hot plate, and we're gonna start heating this. Now I've got it set up on my hot plate, and we're gonna start off on somewhat of a low heat. Alright, I'm going to let this sit on the heat for a bit until we see a color change to a brownish red, and some of our Chevreul salt should precipitate out of solution since it's not soluble in water. I'm pretty sure it is solid. The only thing it's soluble in is ammonia, and we should have some other products as well, since there is still sodium in this reaction from the sodium metabisulfite, which we don't want in our Chevreul salt. So the things that we don't want should hopefully be soluble in the water, and we can get rid of just from filtering off. Alright, the solution has only been heating for around 5 minutes, I would say. It's turned into this nice dark green now, and there's kind of this layer at the top that has this brown precipitate, and we know what that brown precipitate is. Oh, my filter paper is flying. That is our Chevreul salt. Alright, let me just secure this. Okay. Yeah, and we're gonna give this a good mix. Keep this reaction going. It's almost getting to that brownish red that we want. And there are some pretty bad smelling fumes that are coming off this reaction. So, I mean, I do everything outside, even if it's winter. Here in New York, the winters get pretty snowy, but you know, I still do all my stuff outside because there's not many good ways to get proper ventilation inside other than a fume hood. So yeah, for this reaction, I definitely recommend doing it outside. All right, so the reaction is done in terms of heating. It does look pretty greenish, but that's only because all of our Chevreul salt has kind of fallen to the bottom. If I give the solution a quick mix, all of the Chevreul salt that's sitting at the bottom will make the entire solution turn brown. But we're gonna let it sit at the bottom for now because we're gonna do our filtering. I'm gonna pour off the solution, and all of the water should fall right through the filter paper, and we will collect all of our Chevreul salt in the filter paper. Okay, wind is our enemy here. It's been bothering me all day. All my stuff's been flying all over because of the wind. But we're gonna be extra careful because we don't want anything flying while our Chevreul salt is in there. So I'm gonna hold this down, and then we will pour the solution through the filter paper. Okay, we're seeing all of the greenish. I'm deciding if I want to honestly just dump the Chevreul salt here or sit through this filtering process. You know what? We're just gonna dump our Chevreul salt over here. We're gonna get a little more of the kind of watery stuff. Actually, there's not much of the actual watery stuff left. So we're gonna start just I'm gonna lay our Chevreul salt all across this filter paper. Alright, I think I am done getting all of our Chevreul salt onto the filter paper. I'm gonna get the camera out here and give you guys a better look. Alright, let me get it to focus. Yeah, so that is our Chevreul salt. I'm gonna give this some time to dry and then give you guys a better look once it's actually nice and dry. You can see the real color of it. Alright, our Chevreul salt is all done drying, and now I have it in this really nice fine powder, as you can see, and it has this really nice sparkle to it. Wow, look at that. Yeah, it's super sparkly, and it has that characteristic red brownish color of Chevreul salt, and I'm really happy with this product. And I'm going to throw this into a bottle, store it up right next to my other copper salts, and yeah, this is going to be a nice one for the collection.